If you go down to the woods today, you're bound to encounter the evil dead. Or at least that's what this movie would have you believe. Hey everybody, we're back with Sam Raimi's 1981 classic, The Evil Dead, starring Bruce Campbell, Ted Raimi, a bunch of other people wearing masks, and some people that were very eager to deny that they were ever in this movie, for strange reasons. This one I've only seen once before. It's only an hour and 20 minutes long, surprisingly, and I think the basic premise is pretty much the premise for all of the 1980s horror flicks. A group of 5 people, Ash, Scott, Cheryl, Shelley and Linda, meaning their names make up the word class, but I don't know if that's meant to mean anything, go out to a cabin, and it turns out there's an evilness in the woods. And if you want to learn anything from this movie, it's that trees are out to have sex with you and to stop you from going anywhere. I mean, what more do you need to learn in life? Just, that should be it. Also, apparently, evil non-corporeal entities have the same affliction as the aliens in Signs, where they cannot go through wooden doors. But I'm skipping ahead, sorry. So these 5 people go out to a very, very remote cabin out in the woods. And while they're rifling through the stuff they find there, it turns out that the professor who had owned the place previously found a book called the now you know what, I looked this up before I did this review, because they say it in the actual movie, something like Nanoteron dem Morton. I can't remember. You know what? I knew it before I started this camera, and then I did that silly voice at the beginning, and my mind's gone blank. Basically, the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, the Book of the Dead, and he brings it back to this cabin from this excavation, and he does one of those nice reel-to-reel tape recordings where not only does he document his findings and telling, you know, his Dear Diary kind of recordings, he then, because, you know, this is a good idea, he actually reads the curses and spells, etc. Oh, sorry about that. My camera died. The joys of non-scripting. So, and I just looked up, it was Naturum de Monto. I knew it was something along that, close to my name actually. But it's funny because the professor calls it the Naturum de Monto, and yet through the sequels and the games they always refer to it as the Necronomicon Ex Mortis. So I guess it does sound cooler, but it's funny how one name becomes more popular than the other one, even though it's in you know, whatever language it was in, Latin or I know the Sumerian or something. Anyway, getting back on point. So yeah, the professor, because this is what you do, records these these spells and that for raising the dead onto his reel-to-reel, and these people going through the guy's stuff decide to play the tape that they find, nosy bastards. And of course it raises the dead, even though we're kind of led to believe from the beginning that it's already around. But and then people get possessed and that, and it's a gore fest up until the end, and we're led to follow Ash, played by Bruce Campbell, and it kind of sounds at the moment like I'm moaning about it, and I've nitpicked at it already. But you know what? I love this movie. It is so cheesy and kind of self-aware in its cheapness, and and just everything. I tell you, the atmosphere is like a whole other character. They go out in the woods, and it's kind of like, I guess, I saw this after watching, like, the Vancouver years of the X-Files and stuff. So I am a complete sucker for, especially out in the woods, atmosphere. But just the detail that's done, I mean, like I say, it's most cliched setup of these people being isolated out in this cabin. And yet it's just so well done, and I've seen the documentaries, on this full uncut version DVD set, again by Anchor Bay, that I've seen the documentaries, and they talk about the different ways they use to acquire certain effects. And when you see some of the ways they kind of essentially MacGyvered some of the effects, like getting a camera to go through a window, break a window, and stuff like that, and it's really, really fascinating. And it's done all really well. And I know I've essentially harped on about the practical effects thing in the past few videos, but the thing is in this movie, it doesn't try to be realistic, and yet somehow it is, in that when the people that get possessed are possessed, the makeup, I mean, it doesn't help that a lot of different people used for a lot of the monsters, they had masks on, which made it look that little bit less realistic. But it's that over-the-top kind of makeup. And even like when the one woman that does actually play herself, she kind of sits there in this kind of Cupid doll kind of style. It is fucking creepy as hell. And she sat there giggling away, and I'm just like, okay, this is unsettling me now. I mean, even after I've seen this a couple of times, it's not scary. I mean, I don't know if it's because becoming desensitized because of what we have now. But, you know, you kind of expect the jump scares and that. You know they're coming. It's just, but what I love about the jump scares is, although they seem to know that you're going to predict it, they just hang it out that little longer. There's one point where Ash is against the door, and you know something's going to happen, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and you're waiting, and then his arms shoot through the door, and you knew it was going to happen, but because you're left on the edge of your seat for that extra 2 seconds, even half a second, it just makes it that kind of more blood pumping kind of worth. But I have like I say, it's just, so much of it is the atmosphere, and I love the quiet moments. I love the build up. I mean, it's a very small cast, so you are kind of trapped with these people. But I mean, I can't say it's well acted, because it is very cheesily done. I mean, you know, everybody knows what Bruce Campbell's like. So, I mean, just think Bruce Campbell and then think The Evil Dead. It is interesting to see, because Ash in this film is he's very moronic, and kind of like a jock, kind of a doofus in a way, in that, you know, he's really lovelorn and that, and I'm telling you, that fucking monocle that he gives his girlfriend annoyed the pants off of me. And I swear, I am a bit confused why he doesn't get possessed by the evil, why everybody else but him gets possessed. And if you're telling me it's because of that monocle he gave his girlfriend before she died, and it's because he's got a love connection to it, I will kill you. Just joking, before the government rushes in. But yeah, no, it's really over the top. It's not well acted, it's really cheesy. The makeup is excessive, and yet the blood is a lot more realistic than the blood in, say, zombie films like the George Romero Dawn of the Dead stuff. And again, it's funny because there is a poster of The Hills Have Eyes down in the basement when these guys are searching the cabin. But it does, I think it lends a lot to the previous horror movies. Sam Raimi has such an eye for detail, and, you know, this is, considering he wrote and directed this, I can't fault him on that. It's really well done for the time. And even, saying it stands, I've not seen the remake, so before people jump on me for not comparing it to the remake, I have not seen the remake, so I do not know. Obviously, effects-wise, it does not stand up today, especially some of the stop-motion decomposing scenes. But it's just really enjoyable. It's really atmospheric, and seriously, if you love horror movies from the 80s, I have no kind of question. You know, I can see why this has become such a cult classic, because I know it wasn't popular at the time, and it's kind of, since it hit VHS and DVD, that it's become more popular in a cult status. But like I say, I don't know if it's because we've become desensitized, but you think, back when this was released, I mean, it was only a few years after stuff like The Exorcist, where people were coming out saying they were possessed and everything. I can imagine this being shocking at the time, because some of the blood is actually quite convincing. But really, I'm really worried about doing this series about saying the same kind of stuff over and over again, and I really don't want to do that. But really, it's enjoyable. It's not a great movie. It's kind of low-hanging fruit, if you will. But I just enjoy it. It's just a good, if you're up for a night in with a horror flick that you just want to sit back and eat some snacks too, and that, this is a really good pick. So, yeah, if you get the chance and this is your kind of movie, then please do now, if you haven't already, check out Sam Raimi's 1981 classic, The Evil Dead. And we'll be back tomorrow with The Evil Dead 2. So I'll see you then, but for now, this is Sketch, signing out.